Hey everyone, I welcome you all to this session. And today in this video, we are going to discuss about one more scenario-based Power BI interview question. And for that purpose, we'll be requiring some data. So first of all, let's create the data. So I'll simply click here on modeling tab and I'll be explaining the requirement to you in some time and then we'll discuss about it. So first of all, let's create the data. So I'll just simply click here on new table. And all right, now let's name this as data. Let's name this table as data and I'll be using calendar function. So I will simply write calendar, press tab key, and I'll provide the start and the end date. So I'll be further using date function for it. So I'll simply write date, press tab key, and let's say I want the data to be from 1st January 2022 to 1st January 2023. Sorry. So I'll just simply write 2022, comma 01, comma 01, close the bracket, comma date. I'll again use the date function, press tab key, 2023, comma 01, comma 01, close the bracket, and that's all. Press enter. Now let's click on the table view. So this is the table that is created by the name data, and this is the date column in it. Let's say we want to change the format of date, so I'll just simply select this date column and let's change it to YYYYMMDD. All right, now let's say in this particular data table I want to add one more column in which I want sales to be there. So I'll just simply right click on this data table and then I'll click on new column and I'll name this column as sales, and I'll be using rand between function for that. So I'll just simply type the name of that function. I'll select it, press tab key. Now you need to provide a bottom and a top number. So let's say I want the numbers, sales numbers, to be between 50 and 5,000. So I'll simply write 50 comma 5,000 and I'll simply close the bracket, press enter. Now the thing is, the requirement is that the user wants that there should be two different date slicers on this particular page, and using those two different date slicers, the user should be able to compare the sales value between two different dates, right? Two different dates selected in two different date slicers which are present on this particular page, right? So how we can achieve that? So in order to achieve that, I will be requiring two more date tables. So I will simply first of all click here on this data table that we created and I'll copy this formula. So Control A, Control C, and now I'll click on modeling tab, new table, and I will simply paste it here. So Control V, and I will name this table as date table 1. So let's name this as date table 1. Simply press enter. And simply we want to create one more date table. So let's name that table as date table 2. So having the modeling tab selected, press on new table, Control V. Let's name this as date table 2 and press enter. Let's click on the table view. So this is the date table 1, and in this date table 1 I'll just simply click on this date column. Let's change the format to YYYYMMDD. Similarly, for the date column in date table 2, let's change the format to YYYYMMDD. All right, so this is the data that we have created. Now I will simply click here on the model in the model view, and this is the main table that we have. Let's bring it down here. Let's keep it here. And this is the date table 1 and this is date table 2. What I'll do is I'll just simply create a relationship between date table 1 and main data table. So I'll just simply double click on this date column, the data table 1, and I'll simply drag and will drop it here over date column in the data table. So you can see that an active one-to-one relationship is created between these two tables. Now I will create one more relationship between date table 2 and data table. So I will just simply again double click on this date column in the date table 2 and will simply drag and will drop it here over date column in data table. Now, since as per my requirement, I want this relationship between date table 2 and main data table to be inactive. So I will just simply click here, double click on this relationship, second relationship, and I'll uncheck this box, and then I'll click on OK. So now you can see that this dotted line appears here in second case, right? So this is your inactive relationship, while this relationship with date table 1 of main data table is an active relationship. Now let's go back to the report view. I'll simply click here on the blank area on the canvas. I'll expand the visualizations pane, and let's click on the slicer. So this will create a blank slicer for us. Let's say in the slicer we want to represent the date values from the date table 1, because the user wants that we should be able to compare between the sales values for two different dates, right? And we should be able to select different date values from two date slicers. So we'll be having this first date slicer, the date values from the first date table in the first slicer, or date 1 slicer. We'll name it as date 1 slicer. So having this blank slicer selected, I'll simply click here on date column from date table 1, and let's add a border to this visual. So I'll just simply click here on format your visual, general, effects, and visual border. Now let's copy this date slicer, control C, control V. Let's move the second slicer here and keep it here on the right hand side. And for this second date slicer, the date value that we want to represent in the second date slicer should be from second date table. So first of all, I will uncheck this box, and then I will expand date table 2, and then I'll click on date column from second date table. And since this is the date value being represented from the second date table, so in the fields bucket, double click on this name of the column, and then rename it as date 2. Press enter. So you can see its name is date 2 now. And similarly, name the first slicer as date 1. So I'll click on the first slicer, then I'll double click on this date column name in the fields bucket, and I'll name it as date 1 from here. So these are the two different slicers that we have. Now I'll click here on the blank area on the canvas, and now let's click on this clustered column chart. So this will simply create a blank clustered column chart for us. All right. Now let's say in this blank clustered column chart, let's collapse this visualization pane. Let's say in this blank clustered column chart, we want to represent the sales value, right? Because that was what the user needed. So I'll just simply click here on sales. So you can see that the sales value is now being represented. Let's format this visual, that is the clustered column chart that we have created. So having this clustered column chart created, first of all, I'll expand the visualization pane, then click on format your visual. Let's say we do not want the values along the horizontal axis. We do not want the title. Similarly, for y-axis as well, we do not want the values to be there. We do not want the title to be there. And in general also, we do not want the title for this bar chart. So I'll just simply click on general. I'll change this title to off, and I will change this visual border to on from here. And let's say I want to change the data labels to on, and I will further increase the size of the text, and let's keep it bold, right? Probably you can keep it black as well. So right, all right, so this is a clustered bar chart that we have created. As of now, if I will select any different date value in date 1 slicer, so you can see that the value in this particular clustered column chart, or the value being represented by this bar, is changing. As of now, you can see 0.73 is being represented. If I'll further change the dates, you can see that 0.83 is being represented. If I'll further change it, you can see 0.49 is represented. If I'll clear this filter from the date 1 slicer, and now if I'll change the date values in the second slicer, you can see that the value in this bar is not changing. The value in the clustered column chart is not changing. Why so? Because if I'll go back to the model view, you can see that this is an inactive relationship. The relationship between the date table 2 and main data table is an inactive relationship. That's why it is happening. Right now, we came back to the report view. Now the user wanted that we should be able to compare two different sales values when the sales are being represented for two different selected dates according to these two different date slices, right? So we now need to add one more bar to this particular clustered bar chart, clustered column chart, sorry, in which you will see that the values in the second bar will change only according to the different date values selected in the second date slicer. So for that purpose, I'll be creating a measure. So I will simply click here, right click on this data table, and then I'll click on new measure, and let's name this as measure only. And I'll be using calculate functions, so I can simply write calculate, and then since I simply want the sum of the values in sales column, so I can simply write sum, and then we can supply the name of sales column, press tab key, close the bracket, comma. Now since for the different values that will be represented using the second bar or using this measure, we do not want this measure to be filtered by the different date values selected from date table 1 or the date 1 slicer. So for that purpose, we'll be using all function, and through this all function we are giving the instruction to Power BI that all the filters from date table 1 should be inactive for this particular measure. So we'll simply write all, and then we will specify the name of date table 1. So we can write date, and this is the name of date table 1, just simply provide its name, close the bracket, comma. Also, since we want the values in the measure to change with respect to the different date values selected in date 2 slicer, and date 2 slicer is a column present in date table 2, it means the relationship between date table 2 and main data table has to be made active for this particular slicer, for this particular measure, sorry. So for that purpose, we'll be using use relationship function. So we will say use relationship, press tab key, and now you need to provide the names of the two columns using which date table 2 and main data table are connected. So from the data table, we have data date column, press tab key, comma. Now you need to provide the name of the date column in date table 2. So it is named date in date table 2. Select that, press tab key, close the bracket, and then close the calculate function and press enter. All right, so a measure has been created. Now having this clustered column chart selected, I will simply click here on this measure, and now you can see that in these two through these two columns which are being represented on this clustered column chart, that is, one of them is a light blue colored and second one is dark blue, 0.93 million is being shown, that is the total sales. This is so because we have not selected any filter either in date 1 slicer or date 2 slicer, but now let's select different dates in date 1 and date 2 slicer, and let's see what happens. So if I'll select any given date from date 1 slicer, you can see that the value only in the light colored column chart or the column is changing, right? Value being represented by light colored or light blue colored column is changing, but the value represented by this dark blue colored column is not changing. Now let's select some other date in date 2 slicer. So now you can see that the value only in the second slicer, that is dark blue colored slicer, is changing, right? 0.64 million is now being represented because you have selected different dates, that is between 18/4/2022 to 1st January 2023 for date 2 slicer. So for these two particular dates, between these two particular dates, the total sales value is 0.64 million. While if I'll talk about the first date slicer, so the date values selected are 1st January 2022 to 4th October 2022. So the total sales value between the date selected and date 1 slicer is equal to 0.72 million. So you can see 0.72 is being represented using this light blue colored column, right? So in that manner, you can choose any two different dates in these two slicers and you can compare those values, right? The sales values for those two different dates. If I'll simply click here on clear selection for the first slicer, so it comes back to 0.93 million, which was the original value without any filters applied. If I simply click here on clear selections for the date 2 slicer, so you can see that both of them are now representing 0.93 million and they must represent the same value, because as of now the date selected in both of them is 1st January 2022 to 1st January 2023. But now let's say I want to select some other date from date 1 slicer. Let's keep it here. So you can see that the value in the first bar changed and 0.39 million is represented, while in the second bar, since we have not selected any other date values, so the value is same, that is 0.93 million. Now let's choose some other value in the second date slicer. So you can see that the value has now changed for the second slicer as well. Now 0.38 million is being represented for the second slicer. So in that manner, this type of comparison can be done. And these type of questions can be asked in interviews. I hope this video was helpful. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye bye.